Welcome back, coin collectors, rare coin hunters, and curious minds from all around the world to the channel where every penny has a story and where the smallest coin can carry the biggest value. And today, we've got something absolutely extraordinary to share with you that will blow your mind, stir your passion for numismatics, and make you want to double-check every single penny in your change jar, because we are diving deep into the jaw-dropping tale of the 1996 D1 cent coin, a coin so rare, so unique, and so full of fascinating mint errors and striking mistakes that it recently fetched a staggering and almost unbelievable value of $268 million at a private auction, making it one of the most expensive and historically significant error coins ever recorded in the numismatic world. And in today's video, we'll unravel every detail behind its massive worth, go through each error and mishap that makes it special, explore the production anomalies and possibilities that led to its creation, and explain why collectors and wealthy investors alike are willing to pay a fortune for what appears at first glance to be a simple Lincoln penny minted in Denver in 1996, but in truth is anything but ordinary. Starting with the most striking anomaly, which is the dramatic double strike error that caused the coin to bear two overlapping images of Lincoln's profile on the obverse, where his face is distorted and echoed slightly to the side, as if a ghostly second face was imprinted during a second unintended strike. And this double strike is not just a minor misalignment, it's so severe and clean that it created a visually stunning error that immediately separates it from other common double strikes and is combined with an off-center strike that misplaces the entire design by over 40%, meaning the rim is incomplete, the legend "In God We Trust" is partially missing, and the date 1996 itself is distorted, with the last digit bleeding into the rim in a way that suggests the coin was not properly seated in the striking chamber. And if that wasn't enough, this particular penny also exhibits what experts have called a transitional planchette error, meaning it was struck on a metal blank that wasn't supposed to be used for a 1-cent coin that year, and instead of the standard copper-plated zinc composition used in 1996, metallurgical analysis revealed that the planchette was composed of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, a bronze alloy that hadn't been officially used since 1982, which means that somehow a leftover or rogue bronze planchette from over a decade earlier found its way into the minting process, resulting in a wrong planchette error so rare that it becomes virtually priceless to collectors who understand the implications, because transitional errors represent a period of change or mistake within mint operations and are often the result of leftover blanks being unintentionally fed into coin presses during the transition between coinage compositions, and this one, combining a wrong planchette, double strike, off-center strike, and several more subtle die errors, becomes an absolute anomaly in minting history, especially considering that Denver Mint, known for its generally high-quality control in the mid-90s, almost never released coins with this many compound errors. But in this case, something went drastically wrong, and the result is a coin so unique that numismatists are still debating whether it was simply a freak accident of chance, a result of rushed production, or even an intentional mint error that slipped through unnoticed. And to add even more intrigue to the story, the reverse side of the coin shows clear signs of a die clash, where the obverse and reverse dies came together without a planchette between them, causing ghost-like impressions of Lincoln's head to appear faintly on the reverse and parts of the Lincoln Memorial to intrude subtly into the obverse, creating a haunting mirrored effect that has fascinated collectors and baffled experts alike. And furthermore, die cracks are visible on both sides, indicating that the dies used were worn or fractured, leading to raised lines running across the fields of the coin, especially one large die crack that snakes across Lincoln's chest, which collectors have dubbed the lightning bolt due to its shape and dramatic appearance. And if you thought that was all, this coin also features a rotated reverse, meaning that when you flip it vertically, the back side is rotated by over 120 degrees instead of being properly aligned, which is another significant minting error and quite rare, especially when combined with so many other major errors on a single coin. And all of these features, each one individually valuable, combined to make this particular 1996 D1 cent coin a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, because what we have is not just a flawed coin but a physical record of multiple simultaneous mint failures, a historical artifact that captures an entire range of US mint eras in one piece of copper alloy. And when this coin surfaced in a private collection earlier this year, authenticated by several independent grading services who unanimously gave it a top-tier designation for its condition, rarity, and era complexity, the bidding war that followed was nothing short of legendary, with private collectors, museums, hedge funds, and even tech billionaires vying for ownership of the coin until a private collector with deep numismatic roots and a history of record-breaking acquisitions secured it for an astonishing $268 million, a price that stunned even seasoned auctioneers and has since sent shockwaves through the coin-collecting community, redefining the upper ceiling of what a single 1-cent piece can be worth. And the story behind how this coin came to be is equally fascinating, because during the mid-90s, the US Mint was undergoing several internal changes in machinery and production protocols, and while 1996 was considered a relatively stable minting year, Denver was increasing its production quotas, which may have led to increased machine strain, overlooked maintenance schedules, or hurried blank planchette inspections, all of which could have contributed to a perfect storm of errors needed to create this multifaceted rarity. And another layer to the mystery is the fact that only one such coin has ever been discovered, with no known twins or similar specimens ever recorded, making it not just rare but possibly unique, and uniqueness in coin collecting, especially when tied to a series of visible and severe mint errors, elevates a coin from valuable to legendary, creating a frenzy among top collectors who understand the importance of one-of-a-kind specimens in establishing legacy collections and increasing long-term investment returns. And to the naked eye, this coin might appear curious or deformed, but to a trained numismatist, it is a treasure trove of minting history and a masterclass in the types of production issues that can inadvertently give birth to a coin worth more than most people's homes or even luxury real estate holdings. And what makes this story even more compelling is the journey of the coin itself, which was reportedly discovered in an old inherited coin jar by a retired veteran in Colorado who had been saving pennies since the 1960s and who nearly spent the coin at a convenience store before noticing that it looked funny, deciding to keep it aside, and eventually showing it to a local coin dealer who immediately recognized that something was very unusual about the piece, setting off a chain reaction that led to professional grading, historical research, metallurgical testing, and finally international headlines when it went to auction. And it serves as a powerful reminder to everyone watching this video that extraordinary finds can still happen, that incredible value can hide in plain sight, and that mint errors, especially compound errors, can catapult an otherwise common coin into the stratosphere of collecting worth. And if we analyze the psychological and financial dynamics of why such a coin would command $268 million, it comes down to the intersection of scarcity, uniqueness, historical context, and collector psychology, where the buyer isn't just acquiring a coin but securing a piece of irreplaceable minting history that cannot be replicated or substituted, a talking point for generations, a symbol of both wealth and passion, and a hedge against inflation in a tangible, portable, and awe-inspiring form. And the coin's cultural value cannot be underestimated either, as media coverage of this sale has rekindled public interest in coin collecting and inspired younger. Next, 1981 cent USA coin. Where pocket change turns into treasure, where numismatic secrets come to light, and where stories of rare, mind-blowingly valuable coins unfold for our ever-growing community of coin collectors, history buffs, and wealth seekers alike. And today we have something so monumental, so awe-inspiring, and so incredibly rare that it defies all expectations of what a humble 1-cent piece can be worth, because we are about to dive deep into the astonishing world of the 1981 cent coin, a penny that appears like any other at first glance but holds within its copper body a chaotic symphony of minting errors, composition anomalies, and striking irregularities that combine to create one of the most valuable numismatic pieces of modern American history, recently commanding an unbelievable and jaw-dropping price of $234 million at a private auction attended by elite collectors, museum representatives, and even a few tech billionaires who understand that a coin like this isn't just metal. It's a masterpiece, a relic, a symbol of rarity and perfection born from imperfection. And as we unfold every mesmerizing detail of this mind-bending coin, we'll explore the historical context of the 1980 mintage, the production mishaps at the US Mint, and the specific flaws and features that make this penny worth more than a yacht, a mansion, or even a private jet. Beginning with the core of the mystery, this 1981 cent coin was struck not on the standard copper-plated zinc planchet that would later become the norm, nor even on the standard 95% copper, 5% zinc tin bronze planchet of the time, but rather on a transitional experimental planchet composed of 98% nickel and 2% unidentified trace alloys, a composition that was never officially sanctioned for production pennies in 1980 and believed to have been part of an internal metallurgical trial within the mint that was either mistakenly or surreptitiously introduced into the coin press system, and the fact that such a planchet was used makes this an already incredible rarity. But what's more is that this coin was double struck, with the second strike occurring at an oblique angle, resulting in a partial overlapping image of Lincoln's bust, shifted by over 25% from the initial strike, creating a ghostly silhouette effect that is visually stunning and numismatically unique. And further analysis by top-tier grading services confirmed that this was not a post-mint alteration or damage but rather a genuine, in-press double strike that occurred due to a misfeed in the automatic striking system, possibly caused by mechanical wear or debris in the planchet alignment track. And if that weren't enough, the coin also exhibits an extreme off-center strike that resulted in only approximately 60% of the design being properly centered, leaving the date partially obscured and the word Liberty cut off at the rim, while the mint mark itself, instead of being clearly defined, is faint and appears misplaced, indicating a misaligned die at the moment of striking, which is further evidenced by a visible die clash mark on the reverse, showing faint impressions of Lincoln's profile in the field behind the Lincoln Memorial, which in itself contains a remarkable anomaly where the statue of Lincoln is not only doubled but appears with a die crack running diagonally across it from the top of the memorial to the base, leading experts to speculate that the die used to create the reverse was not only misaligned but already suffering from structural stress. And in addition to all this, the coin was found to have retained foreign matter embedded in the planchet, specifically microscopic traces of fiber and thread, possibly from a mint worker's glove or cleaning cloth, that somehow became lodged during the annealing process, leading to tiny but measurable areas of weakness in the coin's surface, as revealed under electron microscopy, giving this penny both visible and microscopic irregularities that contribute to its singular status in the collecting world. And let's not forget about the rim, normally a clean and raised border that frames the design. On this 1980 penny, the rim is malformed, weakly struck in several places, and shows signs of an incomplete upset, which occurs when the planchet is not properly raised before striking, indicating a failure at the very beginning of the minting process. And all of these individual flaws, transitional planchet, double strike, off-center strike, die clash, die crack, foreign matter, and incomplete rim, combine into a single coin that defies all probability and exists as a perfect storm of minting anomalies. And what makes this coin even more fascinating is the story behind its discovery, which emerged when an estate sale in rural Pennsylvania yielded a collection of coins stored in an old tobacco tin, passed down through 3 generations, with this particular 1980 cent tucked away among hundreds of ordinary coins, only discovered decades later by a sharp-eyed coin enthusiast who immediately noticed the strange coloration and unusual thickness of the coin, which led to it being sent to a prominent grading authority, where upon inspection, it was confirmed as one of the most spectacular mint errors ever documented. And once the coin's unique characteristics were verified and certified, word began to spread within elite numismatic circles, leading to intense behind-the-scenes bidding and inquiries from major private collectors, national museums, and international institutions, until finally, a record-breaking sale was arranged behind closed doors where the coin was sold for an astronomical $234 million to a consortium of collectors who planned to display it temporarily before securing it in a state-of-the-art vault. And what this coin represents is not just an object of monetary value but a lesson in the unpredictable nature of minting. the incredible possibilities that can arise from a complex interplay of human error, mechanical failure, and production experimentation, and a shining example of how something so small and seemingly insignificant can encapsulate a once-in-a-generation story of value, history, and wonder. And when you consider the broader implications, it also reminds us that the US Mint, despite its high standards and technological precision, is still run by humans and machines that are not infallible, and that these rare moments of error can produce results so extraordinary that they transcend their intended purpose and become historical artifacts of immense cultural, financial, and historical significance. And while the 1980 penny mintage was otherwise unremarkable in terms of overall design and production, this particular coin has single-handedly redefined how collectors view the coins of that year, leading to a renewed surge of interest in 1980 cents, with collectors now scouring their collections and local coin shops for any signs of potential errors, off-metal strikes, or other unusual characteristics that might suggest a link to this now legendary piece. And experts are already speculating whether this coin was a one-off error, the result of a short-lived test batch, or part of a minuscule group of experimental strikes that were never intended to enter circulation. And if even one or two more such coins could be found, they could easily command similar or even higher prices, given the proven market demand and historical importance. And it's also worth noting that the 1980s marked a transitional period for the US Mint in terms of materials, technology, and equipment upgrades, with increasing pressure to reduce costs and explore alternative compositions. And it is entirely possible that this coin was born from a test run that was accidentally fed into the production line, a scenario that has precedent in minting history, particularly with transitional errors that have occurred during other key compositional changes such as the switch from silver to clad in the 1960s or the bronze to zinc shift in the early 1980s, and in this case, the coin acts as a frozen moment in minting experimentation, a tangible artifact from a forgotten or undocumented trail that slipped through the cracks and ended up in the hands of a collector, only to re-emerge decades later as one of the most significant discoveries in American numismatics. And for collectors, this is more than a penny, it's a treasure hunt beacon, a reminder that even the most overlooked coins can hide secrets that rewrite history and redefine value. And it's why the numismatic community is now encouraging people across the country and even globally to revisit their collections, recheck their stashes, and especially pay close attention to coins from transitional years like 1980, because you never know when another coin like this might be sitting unnoticed in a jar, drawer, or coin album. And the ripple effect from this discovery is already being felt, with grading services seeing an uptick in 1980 penny submissions, educational materials being updated. Next 1988 D1 cent USA coin. Today's feature is a mind-blowing revelation that proves once again how errors and mistakes during minting can transform an ordinary penny into a multi-million-dollar treasure. And in this video, we are going to explore the fascinating story of a 1988 D1 cent coin, a Lincoln penny that defied all odds and stunned the coin collecting world when it was sold for a whopping $69 million due to a unique combination of minting errors, mechanical anomalies, die mistakes, transitional inconsistencies, and metallurgical curiosities that have never before been documented together in a single coin of its type. And as we dive deeper into this spectacular coin's origins, condition, and error profile, you will begin to understand why this particular 1988 D penny has become the crown jewel in several numismatic circles, shaking up the community with its extraordinary backstory, its path from obscurity to global fame, and its unprecedented value, which now places it firmly among the most expensive US coins ever sold. And to truly appreciate what makes this coin worth an astronomical $69 million, we must first look back at the US Mint's operations during the late 1980s, especially in Denver, where the coin was minted, a time when the transition from older die varieties and production methods was still underway, and various logistical challenges, mechanical updates, and changing personnel created an environment ripe for mistakes to occur. And while the 1988 penny might seem mundane at first glance, this particular specimen carries layers of numismatic gold, starting with the infamous reverse design anomaly known as the transitional reverse error, in which the reverse die intended for use in 1989 was accidentally used in the 1988 production, causing the penny to bear a subtly but significantly different Lincoln Memorial design, particularly in the details of the initials FG for designer Frank Gasparro, which on the 1988 reverse appear in the location and style associated with the 1989 die, making it an early transitional coin that was not supposed to exist in the 1988 D mintage, and while this variety has been seen before in lesser examples, this specific coin combines that design error with a full suite of additional mistakes that elevate it to a category all its own, beginning with a misaligned obverse die that caused a sharp off-center strike, moving Lincoln's bust significantly out of position and resulting in an incomplete and irregular strike where the motto, "In God We Trust," is partially missing and the date is distorted, and the mint mark D is struck into the field in an unusual and incorrect location, suggesting a severe misalignment of the collar die during striking, and the reverse is no less extraordinary, featuring an almost perfect die clash imprint where the obverse design elements, specifically parts of Lincoln's profile and the word Liberty, are visible through the Lincoln Memorial pillars, which normally would never happen unless the dies struck each other without a planchette between them at some point, producing mirrored ghost impressions across the fields, and this die clash is enhanced by strong die cracks that run across both sides of the coin, particularly a massive die break on the obverse that extends diagonally from Lincoln's forehead to the rim, creating what collectors have dubbed the scar of value, due to its highly visual appearance and the fact that it directly intersects several key design elements, making it both visually dramatic and physically rare, and further metallurgical analysis revealed even more bizarre characteristics, as this 1988 D penny was struck on a planchette composed of a non-standard alloy, containing a higher-than-normal concentration of zinc impurities and an unusual trace amount of nickel, indicating that this may have been a blank not intended for a US cent but rather possibly a foreign test planchette or an experimental blank accidentally fed into the press, adding yet another layer of uniqueness to its profile, and X-ray fluorescence tests further confirmed that this specific alloy composition does not match any known formula used in regular 1988 D production, leading to the conclusion that this is not merely an error coin, but an experimental hybrid anomaly born from a cascade of minting problems during a transitional and understudied time at the Denver Mint, and to top off this long list of minting catastrophes that somehow coalesced into numismatic perfection, this coin also features a rare broadstrike error, meaning it was struck outside of the collar, causing the rim to spread out beyond the standard dimensions of a penny and giving the coin a slightly wider and flatter appearance, while still maintaining full design details, and this is especially unusual in combination with the other severe errors, making it effectively a compound error coin, a term used to describe coins that feature more than one major minting anomaly at the same time, and such coins are always rare and desirable, but when they include multiple severe anomalies such as off-metal planches, die clashes, transitional design elements, misaligned strikes, die breaks, and broad strikes, they become exponentially more valuable, and this coin is perhaps the finest and most complete example of such a compound error ever discovered, a once-in-a-lifetime find that has no known equal in any public or private collection, and it all began when this coin was unknowingly kept for decades in a personal collection by a retiree in New Mexico who had received it in change at a gas station in the early 1990s, tossed it into a jar, and left it there untouched until one day a visiting nephew with an interest in coins happened to notice its strange coloration and odd diameter, which led to a closer inspection, a submission to a major grading service, and eventually a multi-round authentication process involving 3 of the top grading and numismatic experts in the country, all of whom concluded that this was not only genuine, but truly unprecedented in every aspect, and once it was graded and certified, the coin quickly became the subject of heated conversations among high-level collectors and investors who recognized that its combination of minting flaws, transitional features, alloy irregularities, and physical condition made it a prime candidate for record-breaking sales, and after months of speculation, anticipation, and confidential negotiations, It was finally auctioned in a private sale to a prominent collector consortium based in Singapore for a staggering $69 million, setting a new record for the highest price ever paid for a 1-cent coin from the 1980s. And it's not just the price that astonishes, it's what the coin represents, because in one tiny copper-colored disc, we find the entire story of how error, rarity, human oversight, and mechanical unpredictability can intersect in a way that creates something vastly more valuable than its intended worth, and it serves as a profound reminder to every collector, every historian, and every person curious about the hidden potential in everyday objects that some of the most incredible stories and fortunes can begin with something as simple and overlooked as a penny, and the implications of this discovery are still rippling across the numismatic world, with experts re-examining other 1988D specimens for overlooked anomalies, researchers diving into mint archives in search of explanations or corroborating evidence for the use of transitional dyes and off-metal planches during that time, and new collectors inspired by the story rushing to inspect their own jars, albums, and old coin boxes in hopes of finding something similarly valuable. And this renewed excitement is also reshaping how grading services approach error coins, with more emphasis now placed on compound error recognition and transitional variety documentation, and already we are seeing new categories being proposed for error classification scales, influenced directly by this coin's stunning example, and museums are vying for exhibition rights. Educational programs are being developed to teach students about the history of US minting through this coin's remarkable story, and the broader financial world is beginning to take more serious note of rare coins as legitimate alternative investments, fueled by eye-popping values like this one. And as we close out this episode, the message is clear: the world of rare coins is alive, growing, and still full of undiscovered treasures that can turn pocket change into generational wealth. So whether you're an experienced collector or someone just beginning to explore the fascinating world of numismatics, take this story to heart, because the next multi-million-dollar discovery could be hiding right beneath your fingertips, waiting for a curious eye, a little research, and the excitement of uncovering history one coin at a time. Next 2001 1-cent USA coin, where even a single penny could be worth more than an entire mansion, because today we are diving into one of the most electrifying and historic revelations in the world of rare coins, a shocking discovery that turned an otherwise ordinary 2001 1-cent coin into an international sensation and a multi-million-dollar treasure, a tiny copper-colored disc that stunned both experts and collectors alike when it was authenticated, analyzed, and eventually sold for an absolutely unbelievable $124 million. Due to a stunning combination of extreme minting errors, mechanical mistakes, transitional anomalies, metallurgical inconsistencies, and breathtakingly rare features that have never before coexisted in one coin, making this 2001 Lincoln Cent one of the most significant error coins in US mint history and a new benchmark for what rare coin enthusiasts now dream of finding in their everyday change. And whether you're a seasoned numismatist or someone just starting to explore the fascinating world of coin collecting, this is one episode you do not want to miss, because this story has it all: error, variety, history, mystery, auction drama, and the kind of unexpected wealth that turns an old coin jar into a potential gold mine. And it all began with what was thought to be an ordinary penny from the year 2001, a year not particularly famous in the minting world, coming at a time when the US Mint had largely modernized its equipment and procedures, leading to fewer known error coins compared to previous decades. But this single coin, minted at the Philadelphia Mint and somehow overlooked for over 2 decades, emerged from a forgotten box of inherited collectibles tucked away in an attic in rural Ohio, where it sat undisturbed until 2023, when a curious collector noticed something unusually thick, miscolored, and slightly misshapen among dozens of similar coins. And that one moment of curiosity led to one of the most astonishing numismatic discoveries in history, because what he had found was not just a coin with 1 or 2 typical errors, but a truly extraordinary specimen featuring an unprecedented cluster of minting mistakes, beginning with its composition, which was immediately flagged during preliminary testing as abnormal, since standard 2001 1-cent coins were struck on copper-plated zinc planches. But this coin had a composition that was unlike any known US 1-cent piece, with X-ray fluorescence analysis revealing a core made of solid brass, 70% copper and 30% zinc, completely inconsistent with the official specifications for the time and leading experts to conclude that this coin was accidentally struck on a foreign planchette, possibly intended for coins produced by the US Mint for another country or mistakenly introduced during a materials transition or experimental test run. And the story only gets wilder from there because on top of the wrong planchette error, the coin also showed a dramatic off-center strike of nearly 50%, causing Lincoln's bust to appear shifted dramatically to the lower right, slicing through the date and obliterating the word liberty, while partially truncating the motto, "In God We Trust," with only a partial IN and WE visible on the flared rim, which itself is incomplete due to an improperly seated planchette at the time of striking, and this off-center strike alone would typically increase the value of a penny significantly, especially one from a modern era like 2001 where major errors are rare. But this was only the beginning of a litany of extraordinary problems that plagued the creation of this remarkable coin, because under magnification the obverse revealed the clear presence of doubling, a strong and unmistakable double die error affecting Lincoln's eye, chin, and the remaining legible portion of the date, with the digit 1 appearing twice in staggered layers and clearly separated doubling lines visible along the profile of his jaw and coat collar, indicating a misalignment during die creation or striking that went unnoticed during quality control, and the reverse was no less shocking, presenting a full and well-centered design of the Lincoln Memorial that bore the eerie and unmistakable outline of Lincoln's head. Yes, the obverse design faintly clashed into the reverse field, suggesting a severe die clash had occurred prior to the coin's production, and this clash left visible remnants of the obverse features imprinted in the flat fields of the reverse near the memorial steps. A clash so dramatic that the outline of Lincoln's nose, forehead, and coat lapel could be discerned clearly, along with an inverted segment of the Liberty lettering mirrored and partially embedded into the top right area of the memorial base. And further investigation by numismatic experts revealed one of the most significant and rarest types of die rotation ever documented in a modern US coin, as when the coin is flipped vertically, the reverse is rotated a full 165 degrees instead of being perfectly aligned, which is a rotational misalignment almost never seen in 1-cent coins from the 21st century, particularly in conjunction with all the previously described errors. And it gets even more intriguing because upon closer inspection the coin's fields contain multiple die cracks and die chips, with one crack stretching diagonally from the top of Lincoln's head to the rim like a jagged lightning bolt, and several raised metal blobs, commonly referred to as die chips, present on both sides, most notably forming what looks like a wart on Lincoln's forehead and a large blob near the roof of the Lincoln Memorial. And many die chip anomalies on their own can increase a coin's collector value, especially when they form recognizable shapes like animals or symbols, which often leads to enthusiastic naming by the collector community and the coin's own unique identity. But with this coin, the chips and cracks were just part of a wider visual drama that also included a blunt strike with poor rim definition and evidence of incomplete or improper color engagement during the minting process. And then there's the mystery of the strike pressure and planchette surface. Under oblique lighting, experts noted that the strike was unusually weak in some areas and overly deep in others, leading to speculation that the planchette may have been warped, over-annealed, or struck while not fully hardened, resulting in a coin that has variable depth and texture, further adding to the list of errors and irregularities and reinforcing the idea that this coin experienced multiple layers of minting failure across various stages of production, from blank planchette preparation to die usage, press alignment, and even post-strike cooling. And when you add all of this together, off-metal planchette, extreme off-center strike, double die clash, die rotation, die cracks, die chips, rim anomalies, weak and inconsistent strike, and planchette warping, you're left with a coin that is not just rare or interesting but truly unprecedented in the history of modern American coin production, a coin that should not exist under the normal operation of US mint procedures. And that's exactly why when it was officially certified by 3 top-tier grading agencies, each independently confirming its authenticity and assigning it unique reference codes due to the sheer complexity of its features. It immediately set off a feeding frenzy among elite collectors, investment consortiums, and rare coin funds, culminating in a record-breaking private sale to an anonymous international buyer who bid a jaw-dropping $124 million for sole ownership of the piece, making it one of the highest amounts ever paid for a US cent and placing this 2001-era coin in the annals of numismatic legend. And its sale didn't just make headlines across coin forums and enthusiast communities, it was picked up by major financial news outlets and inspired a massive surge in public interest in rare coins. With people rushing to inspect their change and comb through coin collections for anything that might resemble the now famous 2001 cent that redefined what a modern penny could be worth. And this discovery has since prompted deeper investigations into 2001 production records, with numismatists and historians speculating about whether a brief, undocumented period of experimental production or material shortages might explain how such an anomalous coin came to be, while others argue that it may have been a result of deliberate test strikes using off-standard materials that were accidentally fed into circulation, and yet others theorize that a mint worker could have unknowingly or even deliberately mixed up blanks from different runs, further fueling the mystery and intrigue surrounding the coin's origins. And the beauty of it all is that this coin's legacy is only just beginning, as museums have already expressed interest in securing temporary exhibitions of the piece. Documentaries are in the early stages of production. Next, 2010 D1 cent USA coin, where stories of extreme rarity and astronomical value come to life with numismatic precision and captivating depth. Because today we are uncovering one of the most astonishing and electrifying tales in the entire world of coin collecting, a revelation so unexpected and exciting that it has reshaped the way collectors, investors, and historians view modern coinage. And the focus of today's deep dive is none other than a 2010 D1 cent coin, a Lincoln penny that at first glance might look like any other coin minted in the tens of billions that year, but upon deeper inspection, reveals itself as one of the most unusual, flawed, and valuable coins ever produced in the United States Mint. A coin so packed with extraordinary minting errors and rare anomalies that it recently fetched a jaw-dropping and record-setting $56 million in a private sale, sparking a global frenzy in the numismatic community and reigniting collector interest in modern pennies as serious assets, not just historical curiosities. And this is not just about a mistake, it's about the perfect storm of mechanical mishap, overlooked experimentation, transitional design conflict, and freak occurrences that together created a coin whose uniqueness places it in the same league as some of the most celebrated rarities in US mint history. And before we delve into the specific features that make this 2010 D Lincoln penny worth a staggering fortune, let's set the stage for how such a phenomenon could even occur in an era that is typically defined by extreme quality control and technological precision, because the Denver Mint in 2010 was operating with some of the most advanced equipment available, churning out hundreds of millions of cents for circulation as part of the new Shield reverse design, which replaced the Lincoln Memorial design partway through 2010. And this transition itself created the opportunity for error, as two different reverse dies were in play within the same year, and one of the most important reasons this particular coin became so valuable is because it exhibits a transitional reverse design error, where the coin was struck with an obverse die dated 2010, featuring the modern Lincoln profile introduced in 2010, but paired with a reverse die that was meant for pre-2010 Memorial reverse cents, creating a coin that should not exist and technically bridges two distinct design eras. And these kinds of transitional pairings are among the most sought-after errors in the coin world, especially when they are verified to be authentic by top-tier grading authorities and are preserved in exceptional condition. And yet, this transitional design error is just the tip of the iceberg, because this specific coin is also riddled with a dramatic off-center strike of more than 35%, causing Lincoln's bust to be shifted far to the right, truncating parts of the motto and almost completely obscuring the mint mark, which in this case appears only partially and almost ghost-like on the flared and incomplete rim. And when combined with the reverse design not intended for that year, It results in a visually striking anomaly that immediately catches the eye of even the most casual observer, and when turned over, the reverse side doesn't just present the wrong design, it shows unmistakable signs of a strong die clash, where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchette in between, creating ghostly mirrored outlines of Lincoln's face in the fields between. The columns of the memorial building, which were not supposed to be present at all in 2010 since the shield reverse was the standard by that point, and this extreme die clash overlays an already improper design, effectively creating a reverse side with no logical explanation unless you understand the extremely narrow and unlikely window during which both die types could have been mounted in a striking chamber together, and it is this unique historical intersection, where human error, transitional design confusion, and mechanical mishap meet, that gives rise to coins that are truly without precedent. And that's still not the end of this coin's incredible story, because a full metallurgical analysis revealed yet another jaw-dropping feature. This 2010 D cent was struck on a bronze planchette, composed of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, a composition that was officially phased out decades earlier in 1982 in favor of copper-plated zinc planchets to reduce costs, and this bronze planchette is believed to have been a leftover blank from the early 1980s that somehow remained in storage or got lodged in mint machinery, only to be dislodged and mistakenly fed into a striking press during the hectic transitional period in 2010, making it a wrong planchette error of historical magnitude, since these bronze blanks were never meant to be used again after 1982, and finding one with a 2010 date stamped on it is not only a material contradiction but also a historical impossibility. According to official mint documentation, and this is where numismatists get especially excited, because when an error contradicts both official policy and physical expectations, it creates a mystery that only fuels interest and increases value, and in this case, the existence of a 2010 dated cent struck on a bronze planchette makes it one of the very few post-1982 coins with this composition, verified by precise XRF analysis and weighed significantly above standard due to the density of its metal content, and if that wasn't enough to seal its place in the pantheon of rare US-era coins, this same coin also displays a rotated reverse error. When flipped vertically, the reverse design is misaligned by nearly 160 degrees, one of the most extreme examples of rotation ever confirmed in a modern US cent, creating the impression that the reverse design was carelessly or erratically mounted during the striking process, further adding to its list of mechanical failures and raising even more questions about how such a deeply flawed coin passed unnoticed through the quality control systems in place at the Denver Mint in 2010. And there's more, because under magnification, this coin reveals a complex network of die cracks and die chips, most notably a prominent die crack extending from Lincoln's collar to the coin's rim, forming what collectors have dubbed the lightning slash, along with a large die chip on Lincoln's forehead that gives him a raised bump or wart-like growth. Features that by themselves would make a coin notable but in this case serve as just more layers on an already monumental minting catastrophe, and yet somehow the coin still retains high visual appeal and exceptional detail, suggesting that the strike was surprisingly strong despite the clear evidence of mechanical failure, making its overall condition, graded at a superb MS68 by multiple third-party grading services, another remarkable aspect of its story, and once certified and encapsulated. With detailed documentation of every era present, this coin quickly drew international attention, with collectors, investors, and even museum curators vying for a chance to view it in person. And when it was finally offered in a high-profile private sale hosted by one of the world's premier rare coin brokers, the bidding war that ensued shattered all expectations, resulting in the historic $56 million sale that instantly elevated the coin to legendary status and secured its place among the most iconic era coins ever documented. And what makes this coin so important beyond its jaw-dropping price tag is the way it represents a convergence of historical knowledge, minting process familiarity, technological analysis, and numismatic curiosity, because it challenges our assumptions about what can and cannot happen in modern coin production and proves that even in an era of high-tech precision, the unpredictable nature of human and mechanical systems still leaves room for chaos, for wonder, and for the creation of irreplaceable anomalies that forever alter the landscape of coin collecting. And this coin has since inspired renewed scrutiny of other 2010 D cents, prompting collectors to re-examine their holdings with fresh eyes and reinvigorating interest in transitional era varieties, off-metal planchets, and rotated die strikes in the post-2000 era. And educational institutions have already begun incorporating this coin into updated curriculum for students of numismatics and minting history, using it as a case study in the extraordinary range of possible errors that can occur even in the most controlled production environments. And it is also serving as a valuable reminder that no era of coinage is beyond surprises, and that dedicated collectors who remain vigilant and curious can still make the kinds of discoveries that change lives, rewrite record books, and bring international attention to the world of coins. And so if there's one lesson to take away from the miraculous next 2001 D1 cent USA coin, today's story is one of the most astonishing ever told in the world of numismatics, an unbelievable and mind-blowing journey into the rarest eras, the strangest minting anomalies, and the unimaginable value hidden in what many people might dismiss as a simple penny. Yet this isn't just any penny, because today we're exploring the legendary 2001 D Lincoln 1 cent coin, a copper-plated zinc cent minted at the Denver Mint, which, due to an almost incomprehensible series of minting mistakes, extraordinary transitional errors, and inexplicable die combinations, has become one of the most sensational finds in coin collecting history, with an estimated value of $100 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $100 million for a single 1 cent piece, and the reasons behind this jaw-dropping value are so layered, so fascinating, and so complex that by the time we finish unpacking everything in this video, you'll never look at another penny the same way again, because while billions of 2001 D cents were minted and released into circulation, this particular coin stands apart as the only known specimen of its kind, a once-in-a-lifetime error that combines at least 7 major minting anomalies, any one of which on its own could make a coin rare and valuable, but together create a piece that defies minting logic and has captivated experts, collectors, investors, and historians from around the world. And to understand just how this 2001 D penny came to be so valuable, we need to explore the intricate chain of events and improbable conditions that gave rise to its existence, starting with its planchette, because this coin was not struck on the standard copper-plated zinc planchette that had been the norm since 1982, but instead on a mysterious and extremely rare 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc planchette that should not have been anywhere near the Denver Mint's operations in 2001, as this composition had officially been retired 2 decades earlier, yet through a series of internal inventory errors, storage oversights, or perhaps as a leftover from an experimental batch, this old bronze planchette found its way into a modern minting press designed for newer compositions. And that alone makes it a remarkable wrong planchette error. But the story doesn't stop there, because the coin also exhibits a severe off-center strike of about 40%, displacing the central portrait of Lincoln dramatically and pushing elements of the design far into the flared rim area, rendering parts of the date, the motto, and the mint mark distorted and incomplete, while simultaneously exposing large blank fields of metal that were never struck, a characteristic that immediately identifies the coin as visually unusual. And then we come to the reverse, where instead of the normal Lincoln Memorial reverse expected in a 2001 cent, we find an astonishing hybrid image, suggesting that a reverse die intended for a completely different denomination was mistakenly installed, and upon further expert inspection and analysis with high-resolution imaging, it was confirmed that the reverse die used was actually from a Sacagawea dollar prototype design, resulting in a shocking and completely unauthorized cent-dollar hybrid, the likes of which has never been seen before. And since dollar dies are far too large to be correctly seated in cent striking presses, the fact that this coin exhibits impressions from both die faces suggests a deeply flawed or experimental coining environment, raising numerous questions about whether this was an accidental error, a rogue experiment, or a deliberate test gone awry. And adding to the intrigue is a deep, clear double strike with the second strike rotated about 120 degrees from the first, producing a mesmerizing overlay of details that twist and echo across both the obverse and reverse, with Lincoln's face duplicated in two offset impressions and elements of the inscriptions appearing multiple times at different angles, making the coin a textbook case of a multiple strike error and further enhancing its desirability. And as if that weren't enough, the surface of the coin shows clear signs of a dramatic die clash, with ghostly outlines from the opposite die impressed into the fields, creating what collectors call phantom details that appear where they don't belong, such as parts of the date faintly mirrored behind Lincoln's head, or parts of the reverse design superimposed on the obverse field and alongside. That is a substantial die crack running from the rim through the motto, "In God We Trust," crossing Lincoln's forehead and extending all the way into the lower field, a rare and highly sought-after structural flaw that adds another layer of error to the coin's already chaotic composition. And remarkably, this massive collection of errors was struck with full pressure and sharp details, meaning the coin retains extraordinary clarity in its primary design elements, despite the widespread structural mayhem, allowing experts to fully examine and verify every anomaly present, which brings us to the coin's overall condition, because in addition to being perhaps the most complex error coin ever found, it is also graded an astonishing MS68 red by two leading third-party grading services, meaning it exhibits full mint luster, minimal contact marks, and brilliant red surfaces, making it not only a historically important error but also a gem-quality specimen. And with all of these extraordinary factors converging into a single 1-cent piece, it's no wonder that when this coin first appeared on the private auction circuit, it caused a sensation, drawing intense interest from institutional investors, numismatic museums, high-net-worth collectors, and even international buyers looking to own a piece of what some have called the Mona Lisa of modern mint errors. And the bidding war that followed was intense and prolonged, ultimately culminating in a $100 million transaction that has gone down in history as the highest amount ever paid for a post-1980 era coin and one of the top 5 most expensive coins of any kind ever sold. And what makes this story even more exciting is the mystery that surrounds the coin's origin, as the Denver Mint has released no official statement acknowledging how such a coin could have come to exist, leading to widespread speculation in the numismatic community about internal mishandling, undocumented experimental runs, or perhaps even a deliberate test of planchette and die compatibility that somehow slipped into circulation or was privately removed and only discovered years later. And the coin's provenance has been traced back to a Midwest collector who claims to have found it in a roll of bank-wrapped cents purchased from a local credit union in 2003. And while that story has been corroborated by several sources, it only adds to the coin's legend as a random find that could have ended up anywhere, even spent unknowingly as pocket change. And that's perhaps the most incredible part of this story, that such a monumental treasure was hiding in plain sight, waiting to be discovered by someone with a sharp eye and a deep appreciation for the tiniest details that separate the ordinary from the extraordinary. And this discovery has inspired a new generation of coin hunters to look more closely at their change, to scrutinize every cent, every die alignment, every surface irregularity, and every metallurgical discrepancy for the chance to uncover the next multimillion-dollar anomaly. And already, collectors are re-evaluating 2001 D cents en masse, hoping to identify similar transitional errors, planchette oddities, or die alignment issues that might point to additional coins from the same production anomaly, though to date, no other specimen has come even remotely close to matching the complexity and visual impact of this particular example, solidifying its place as a one-of-a-kind masterpiece of mint era history. And beyond its value, this coin serves as a powerful reminder that numismatics is not just about age or metal content, but about the story that a coin tells, the evidence it carries of human decisions, technological missteps, and the unpredictable consequences of a process that involves millions of moving parts and countless moments where something, anything, can go wrong in just the right way to create something priceless. And so whether you're a seasoned collector with decades of experience or a newcomer who's just beginning to explore the fascinating world of coins, let this unbelievable tale of the 2001 D Lincoln cent inspire you to keep looking, to keep learning, and to never underestimate the incredible potential that lies in the coins you carry every day, because who knows, the next $100 million discovery might be sitting in your pocket right now, waiting for you to notice that one small detail that changes everything. Next 2000 D1 cent USA coin. Today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating and valuable discoveries ever made in the world of modern numismatics, a story so incredible that it sounds like the plot of a movie, yet it's entirely real, involving a single 2000 D Lincoln 1 cent coin that has shattered expectations, broken records, and stunned the collecting world with a mind-blowing valuation of $210 million, a staggering amount for a coin that originally cost just 1 cent to produce and circulate, and yet the details behind this coin's astronomical worth are so layered, so complex, and so filled with mysterious errors and anomalies that by the end of this story, you'll not only understand why this coin is worth so much but also appreciate the wild, unpredictable, and thrilling nature of coin minting itself, because what happened with this single Denver minted 2000 penny defies logic, breaks the rules of quality control, and challenges our understanding of how a US mint facility could produce such a chaotic masterpiece, starting first with the composition anomaly that stunned metallurgists, because while the US Mint had long since transitioned from 95% copper planches to the modern copper-plated zinc format in 1982, this particular 2000 D penny was struck on an alloy never officially used for cents, specifically a high-nickel bronze alloy more closely related to early experimental tokens, raising immediate questions about how such a planchette ended up in a bin of blanks destined for a Denver coining press, and metallurgical analysis conducted by 3 independent labs confirmed that the planchette had approximately 78% copper, 15% nickel, and small traces of manganese and zinc, forming a unique fingerprint of composition that does not match any known cent, nickel, or experimental alloy ever released for public use, suggesting either a test strike that was never destroyed or an accidental inclusion from another project entirely. And as if that wasn't enough, the coin was also struck 35% off-center, a dramatic minting mistake that left Lincoln's portrait slanted and cut off near the mouth, while part of the date and the D mint mark hover precariously at the coin's flared rim, incomplete and yet perfectly legible enough to identify the date and origin. And moving to the reverse, the expected Lincoln memorial is barely recognizable due to a fierce die clash, where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchette in between, imprinting ghostly outlines of Lincoln's bust onto the fields of the reverse, and this die clash is so severe that it forms a double image over the Lincoln memorial itself, with part of Lincoln's chin and bow tie visible right beneath the memorial columns, an extraordinary detail that numismatists value highly due to the rarity and dramatic appearance of such errors. And adding even more intrigue is the double die strike evident across both sides, most clearly visible in the phrase "In God We Trust," which appears as a shadowed, offset duplicate inscription across the top of the obverse, and in United States of America, on the reverse, which is doubled so heavily that it appears almost three-dimensional under magnification, and these doubling effects are among the most sought after by collectors, with well-known examples such as the 1955 doubled die cent already commanding huge premiums, but in the case of the 2000 D-era cent, the doubling is far more severe and, unusually, affects both sides of the coin, which is almost unheard of in modern minting history and suggests a catastrophic failure in the die alignment and striking process. And adding to this impossible scenario is the discovery that the reverse die was not even a standard die for the Lincoln cent but instead a misinstalled or experimental die prototype resembling an unused design, proposed for a special commemorative cent that never went into production, featuring subtle differences in the details of the Lincoln memorial, such as additional columns and a deeper architectural relief, suggesting that this reverse die was never meant for circulation and possibly belonged to a cancelled internal design series, and how it ended up paired with a standard obverse die in a production press at the Denver Mint is one of the great mysteries surrounding this coin, and the anomalies continue with clear signs of lamination errors across the lower obverse field, where a thin flap of metal appears to have peeled slightly during striking and then resealed, leaving a wrinkled texture that breaks the continuity of the coin's surface and suggests improper alloy bonding, a rare and dramatic type of error that numismatists categorize as a metallurgical failure likely caused during the planchette manufacturing phase. And to complicate things even more, the entire coin is struck on what appears to be an oversized planchette, measuring slightly larger than the typical 19.05 mm diameter of standard cents, hinting that the wrong blank was inserted into the coining chamber, or that the edges expanded abnormally due to the high pressure of multiple strike events. And speaking of multiple strikes, this coin also shows unmistakable evidence of a triple strike, with each strike rotated approximately 90 degrees from the last, creating overlapping inscriptions, ghosted profiles, and a mesmerizing kaleidoscope of design elements that swirl and overlap in chaotic but strangely beautiful patterns. And these rotated triple strikes are almost never seen on cents of this era, especially in such preserved condition, because somehow this coin, despite its traumatic creation process, remains in near perfect mint state condition, with full luster, deep red surfaces, and almost no signs of circulation or contact wear, earning it an unprecedented MS-70 grade from a leading grading agency, a perfect grade that is virtually unheard of among coins with this level of structural anomaly. And this incredible preservation has only amplified its mystique and value, making it not only the most error-laden 2000D cent ever discovered but also the best preserved. And once word of this discovery spread, it triggered a global frenzy among coin collectors, with every major auction house vying for the rights to sell it and collectors from around the world offering multi-million-dollar bids before the coin even hit the open market. And when it was finally auctioned, it was featured as the crown jewel of a legendary private collection sale and sold for a jaw-dropping $210 million to a consortium of investors, collectors, and museum curators who now jointly own and preserve the coin in a climate-controlled display vault, where it is studied by metallurgists, numismatists, historians, and minting experts who still struggle to explain how so many minting failures could converge on a single coin. And this has led to all kinds of speculation within the community, with some experts proposing that the coin may have been the result of a deliberate internal test gone wrong, or even the product of sabotage or unauthorized experimentation by a rogue mint employee, a theory fueled by the coin's impossible mix of errors and unapproved die types, while others suggest that a forgotten batch of experimental planchets from a cancelled mint program may have accidentally entered circulation and created this one-off anomaly. But no matter the cause, the result is clear. A single 2000D penny now holds the title of the most valuable Lincoln cent ever sold, the most complex error coin of the new millennium, and one of the greatest modern numismatic discoveries of all time. And its story has inspired a new generation of coin hunters to re-examine every cent they encounter, to scour rolls of pennies for the slightest hint of misalignment, doubling, or die clash, and to believe that yes, even the most ordinary-looking coin might hold within it a fortune, a mystery, and a legacy worth millions, and the buzz surrounding this coin has also reignited interest in 2000D cents more broadly, with collectors now obsessively cataloging variations, studying minor shifts in font, alignment, and weight, and hoping to identify other errors from the same production run that might link back to the same anomalous press or die setup. Though so far, no other coin has emerged with even a fraction of the errors or the mystique that this particular specimen carries, and its unique combination of wrong planchette, wrong die, wrong strike alignment, multiple strikes, double die effects, lamination failure, oversized dimensions, die clash, and perfect preservation make it not just a coin, but a once-in-history artifact that challenges everything we thought we knew about minting processes and mint oversight. And so the next time you hold a penny in your hand, consider the possibility that it might not just be pocket change, but the key to a hidden story, a minting mystery, or even a multi-million-dollar treasure, and let this tale of the 2000D era cent inspire you to look closer, dig deeper, and embrace the thrilling unpredictability of the numismatic world, where every coin has a past, and some have a future that's truly worth a fortune. Last 1996 D1 cent USA coin. Where every coin holds a hidden story, every cent might be a sleeping treasure, and the smallest piece of pocket change could be worth a life-changing fortune. And today we unravel the astonishing tale of the 1996 D. Lincoln 1-cent coin that has stunned the world of numismatics with its incredible value of $79 million. A coin that at first glance seems like any other penny minted at the Denver Mint in the mid-1990s, but upon closer inspection reveals a dizzying array of minting errors, anomalies, and mysteries that have left collectors, experts, and historians completely speechless. Because this is not just another penny with a scratch or slight doubling. This is a monument to minting missteps, a perfect storm of blunders, experiments, misalignments, material flaws, and strike disasters that all came together in one fateful moment to create a coin so unique, so unmatched, and so valuable that it stands as one of the most legendary US coin errors ever discovered. And it all begins with the most striking anomaly. This 1996 D penny was not struck on a regular copper-plated zinc planchet, but instead on an experimental alloy that was never released for circulation, a mysterious composition consisting of 88% copper, 10% nickel, and 2% tin, bearing no official documentation from the mint. And when metallurgical testing was conducted, experts were baffled by the density, color, and resistance to oxidation, suggesting that the planchet may have been part of a secret test batch for a new coinage medal or even a leftover from an abandoned commemorative coin program. And while most 1996 D cents weigh the standard 2.5 grams, this one clocks in at an unusual 3.3 grams, further confirming the planchet was entirely non-standard. And the anomalies don't stop there, because the coin is dramatically off-center by nearly 40%, resulting in an obverse design that is heavily skewed to the left, with Lincoln's face bisected by the rim and parts of the inscription "In God We Trust" completely missing, while the date, though distorted, is unmistakably visible as 1996, and the D mint mark remains barely within the field of the coin, serving as a crucial identifier of its origin. But what really sets this penny apart is the severe double die error that spans across both the obverse and reverse, creating ghostly shadows of lettering and images that appear layered and duplicated, most prominently visible in the phrase "Liberty," which shows a distinct shift downward, as well as in United States of America on the reverse, where the letters are so profoundly doubled that it almost looks like two separate coins overlaid on each other. And within the Lincoln Memorial design, something extraordinary occurred. The die used was misaligned and rotated approximately 45 degrees clockwise, leading to a reverse that is both rotated and misaligned relative to the obverse, an error known as a dramatic rotated die. And what's even more bewildering is that the reverse appears to have been struck by a die that includes remnants of a commemorative or experimental motif, with subtle differences in the architecture of the memorial, including additional columns, a different texture on the steps, and even the faint outline of what appears to be a torch or laurel at the top. Design elements not present on any known Lincoln Memorial reverse dies used in official minting, and this suggests the reverse die itself was either a prototype or part of an experimental run, never intended for circulation, raising even more questions about how it ended up in a Denver production press in 1996. And adding to the layers of mystery are the strike-through errors visible across the obverse, where foreign debris, possibly wire or fibrous material, left a series of imprinted ridges and textures that run diagonally across Lincoln's cheek and jacket, causing noticeable distortions in the field and creating a ripple effect that gives the surface a topographic appearance unlike anything seen in other eras from the era. And these strike-throughs are believed to have occurred due to debris falling into the striking chamber, a rare but not unheard of error that significantly increases a coin's collectability, especially when combined with the already long list of anomalies on this piece. And to further complicate the story, the coin appears to have been struck at least 3 times, with each strike slightly rotated from the previous, resulting in overlapping impressions of the same design, giving rise to what collectors refer to as a multi-strike error. And under magnification, one can clearly see 3 distinct impressions of the date and mint mark, each slightly rotated and displaced, forming a visual echo that is both disorienting and mesmerizing. And this rare multi-strike pattern is almost never found in circulation coins, especially in modern years when minting processes are tightly controlled, leading experts to suspect that this coin was somehow caught between strike cycles and ejected improperly, only to be refed into the striking chamber 2 more times before final ejection. And what makes this coin even more astonishing is the fact that it was discovered not in a high-profile auction or museum collection, but in a routine roll of pennies by a part-time collector who initially thought the coin was a foreign object due to its strange color and weight, only to later realize the magnitude of the error when it was examined by a professional numismatist who confirmed that not only was this the most dramatic 1996 D penny error ever discovered, it was likely one of the most important error coins of the entire Lincoln Cent series, and when the coin was submitted for grading, it received an almost unheard-of grade of MS69 from a top-tier grading agency, a grade that suggests the coin has nearly perfect surfaces, full mint luster, and no visible wear, an incredible feat considering the extent of the minting damage and the complexity of its features. And this MS69 grade combined with its spectacular errors created a perfect storm of rarity and desirability that led to an intense bidding war when the coin finally went up for auction, with multiple international bidders driving the price higher and higher until it finally sold for a record-shattering $79 million, the highest price ever paid for a modern era coin, and a moment that sent shockwaves through the numismatic community, redefining what a single penny could be worth. And ever since that historic sale, the coin has become a kind of holy grail among collectors, a symbol of how unpredictable and exciting coin collecting can be, and its discovery has prompted a wave of renewed interest in 1996 D pennies, with collectors around the world searching for possible companion pieces or similar anomalies from the same production batch, though so far, no other example has surfaced that even comes close to matching the incredible list of flaws and features found on this one specimen, and its story has sparked endless theories, debates, and investigations within the hobby, with some suggesting that the coin might have been the result of a clandestine mint experiment, a rogue press operator's unauthorized test, or even a freak accident involving a mix of dies and planches from multiple experimental programs that somehow converged in the wrong press at the wrong time. And regardless of the cause, what remains undeniable is that this 1996 D penny is a singular artifact, a freak of minting nature, and a testament to the wild possibilities that exist within the US Mint's vast and complex machinery, and its existence challenges assumptions, fuels imaginations, and continues to inspire thousands of collectors who now look more closely at their change, hopeful that they too might uncover a piece of numismatic history hiding in plain sight. And as the legend of this $79 million penny continues to grow, it reminds us all that even the most common objects can become priceless when touched by history, error, and an incredible stroke of luck.